Hope everybody is feeling fresh still. Okay, so I was summarizing and reporting on the topic, which was the topic of session 4, that is AI in chemical security and counterterrorism. So there were several insightful discussions during this session, a lot of key takeaways. I'll try to summarize them and link the discussion with each other. So first was that we've seen AI tools being used by terrorists of late, and especially for recruitment, propaganda, education, and financing, as highlighted by our speaker from Morocco. So, and also we've seen practical, use of AI by terrorists. For example, from the Kenyan speaker, she highlighted that crypto and dark web were used by terrorists like Al-Shabaab for purchase of high-caliber drones, and if it were not for AI-based and finally human intervention, then a lot of catastrophic effects could have taken place, right? So, we've also seen practical applications of AI for countermeasure. For instance, the Korean customs are using artificial intelligence for border control, and the practical information, like only 15% of the total data that they had was actually being used previously before they employed the AI-related techniques. So this highlights that using AI can really enhance the capability, and this is a practical result that they reported during the session. And the AI team that is employed by the Big Data and AI Center has been able to solve 53 real problems, which actually underscores the effectiveness of artificial intelligence for counterterrorism and effective border control techniques, which I think is a key takeaway from the session as well. So we also learned that there are dual-use items. For example, items which not be labeled as hazardous in their current form from the counterterrorism or from the chemical security point of view, but they may lead to development of other materials that could be hazardous and could be used for terrorist activities. And for that, what we could do, the AI would be even more helpful, because there are several combinations of where materials could be used, and using AI-based algorithms, maybe we can decipher better information about the import, if it is a dangerous import at all. In this context, also our speaker from the CDA highlighted that knowing your customer is a terminology that they use, and this can be very effective in, for example, finding out if a certain company or certain entity has need for a certain item or not, and what they might be using it for. But this also underscores the need for ethical use and privacy issues, which will need to be very looked into in a lot of detail, particularly in the context of counterterrorism and chemical security. In terms of drones, for instance, there are positive as well as negative applications. For instance, drones can increase the monitoring, inspection, and disaster response. So, particularly for in case of a disaster, for example, so a counterterrorism scenario in which something bad, God forbid, happens, so drones can be an effective way to monitor that area, right? But at the same time, drones can also be used to cause an attack of this sort, because, for instance, there have been incidents where, some hazardous chemical could be sprayed upon masses of people, where they actually have, people have gathered and the drone could be used there. So, effective countermeasures for this are also required, again, to know which drone, for example, is being flown by whom, especially in critical situations and where there are mass gatherings of people. So there's limited legislation for that. Maybe there's a need for more legislation on this, because as the speaker highlighted, many people, many different persons can be flying drones, and there isn't much information about who is flying this drone where, for example. Also, generative AI has recently been used, or could be used, by potential terrorists or somebody who might want to explore such information for learning terrorism-related information, right? So while there are checks and balances in place, for example, checking who is searching for such materials in the conventional search engines, but for AI-based search engines, generative AI-based search engines, there is need for more regulation and more how to raise checks, for example, when a certain kind of search is actually being made. So that kind of information could be there as well. To summarize, AI and modern cybersecurity techniques need to be adopted in governance and monitoring. This could increase efficiency, as we've seen in practical examples. And while we see that, for example, if the terrorists, some of them at least, are using AI, so why shouldn't we, for example, the counterterrorism measure has to deploy AI in more superior terms to be able to counter it. The technology is here, and definitely we need to use it, and this kind of forums are very useful for it. Also, there is a need for increased collaboration, for mutual learning. See, items going into one port, coming into one port, are also items going out of another port. So mutual collaboration can lead to like reducing the overhead, for example, on your own systems, for example, when we look at the import of items, for example, at a country, but the same item is being exported from another port as well. So mutual collaboration can enhance the effectiveness, and mutual checks can actually benefit from this kind of thing. So there's a need for increased collaboration for mutual learning about AI, crypto, and related technologies, so that this becomes a norm for everybody. I hope that makes sense. Thank you very much.
Very much.